Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Daniela, and if you're new here, I make upcycling videos and also some basic tutorials for sewing. It's a new channel that I have created, so all the suggestions that you have for me are welcomed. In this tutorial, we will be seeing how did I make this traditional dress by using my mother's sari. I will be showing the cutting of the pant as well as the top in this video, and for stitching I will be creating a separate video. So let's get into it. We will start with the cutting of the upper part of the bodice. We will cut it on the lining fabric. You can see that I'm cutting the front and the back together. I will just go ahead and pin the pieces so that they won't move. Now the width of your fabric should be 1/4 of your bust measurement plus 1 or 2 inch, and the height should be whatever height you want your upper bodice to be. I have taken it to be 13.5 plus 1 inch for the seam allowance. So now I will just draw the reference line. So this is going to be my reference line, and I will also draw a similar one at the bottom, and then I will mark my normal measurements. I'll start with the shoulder first, and then I'll come 1 inch down for the shoulder slope and create a slope. Now I will take the same measurement as the shoulder and come down for the armhole line, extend this armhole line, and now I will mark my shoulder to bust measurement, which is at 9.5. I will draw a horizontal line at this 9.5 inches. Now I will mark 1/4 of my bust measurement on my bust line. I will mark the same measurement on my upper bust line as well. You can add 1/4 to 1/2 inch extra for the ease. I don't want my bodice to be very fitted, so I'm going to mark my under bust plus 1 inch and then connect these 3 points together. Now I will mark my neckline. I have taken the shoulder width to be 2 and mark wherever you want your neckline to be, and then connect those 2 points together. Now mark the middle point of the line that you have just drawn and come 1/2 inch inside and then draw a curve. This is for your neckline. I will also mark my back neckline at 1.5 inch and then just connect it like this. This is for my back and this is for my front. Now let's make those armhole curves. I'll mark the middle point, come 1/2 inch inside for the front armhole, and for the back armhole I'm just going to use the middle point. Now I'm going to add 1/4 inch of a seam allowance on the sides. You can take the seam allowance according to your wish. You can mark the seam allowance on all the sides, but I'm not going to mark them on all the sides. I will start the cutting with back neckline. You can see that I am keeping some seam allowance at the neckline, and I will go ahead and cut it. Start with the back neckline and back armhole first. Do not start with the front one. And don't forget to add the seam allowance while cutting on the armhole lines and also on the neckline, because we didn't mark it there. Once this is done, go ahead and separate the back part. So the back part cutting is done. Now we will cut the front neckline and also the front armhole. It's always a good idea to use the pins so that the pieces won't move and both the sides would be symmetric. You can see I am still keeping the seam allowance at the neckline, also on the armhole lines. So once this is done, the cutting of our upper bodice is finished. This is only done on the lining fabric. You need to cut the same pieces for the main fabric as well. Now let's move on to the bottom part, which is the asymmetrical skirt. For that, you can see that I have folded the sari on one side. The length and the width both is 38 inches. Now we will go ahead and make a curve here. At the pointed edge, you will keep the starting point of the measurement tape, and then you have to create a curve. That length should be waist divided by 3.14. If you get 7.9, make the circle at 7.7. So whatever you will get, minus 0.2, and just go ahead and mark the points like this. Make sure that you are not moving the starting point. Once this is done, connect all those points by forming a curve. like this. Before you cut this curve, just make sure that the measurement of this curve is your waist measurement divided by 2 plus 1 inch for seam allowance. Now my waist measurement is 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. So I should get this curve measurement 13.5. If it is more than that, 1 inch more than that is fine. Once you know that it is correct, just go ahead and cut the curve. Now we need to cut the bottom part, which is asymmetric. So I will fold this curve into again 2 parts, so it will look something like this. And once you fold it, don't forget to pin it, because we are going to mark some measurements and we need the front and the back part to be the same. So go ahead and pin these pieces. For the markings, you know that our center front is shorter than the sides. Okay, so the sides are 30 inches long, whereas the front part is 23 inch long. The folded side is something which is going to come in the middle. So on the folded side, I'm going to mark 23 inches plus some seam allowance, and I'll just do that marking, you can see. And at the very end, I'm going to mark the measurement as 38 plus some seam allowance. You can take half inch of a seam allowance or even quarter of a seam allowance, because anyway we are going to add the border at the bottom. Now I'll go ahead and add 1 inch while making the curve. So you can see I'm getting a slant line here, but when you are cutting, you have to make sure that it's a curved line. So once you make the curve, go ahead and cut it, and then it will look something like this. Now let's move on to our palazzo pant. The width of the fabric, I have taken it to be hip divided by 4 into 3. Now we will go ahead and mark the crotch depth as hip divided by 4 and then make a straight line. This is going to be our crotch depth. Now come 2 inch inwards on the crotch line and draw a straight line. Now you have to form a curve here, which is going to be the front curve. We are currently drafting for the front pattern. Okay, once this is done, just to add some curve, we are going to make the sides a little curvy. For that, first I will extend this crotch line, and on the main waistline, I am going to mark 1 inch or 1.5 inch inwards and then connect that with the crotch line. I'll do the same at the bottom as well. I'm just going to go 1 inch inward and then draw a straight line and connect it to the crotch line like this. These are all the markings for the front pattern. We just have to cut the pieces now. We will start with the crotch line and the crotch curve. Also it is folded, so we have to make sure that we remove this fold and make a cut from that side. So this fold shouldn't be there anymore, so I'm just going to cut through it. I will also cut the curves that we have marked on the sides. And once you do that, the front part is ready. Now for the back part, I lost the footage of the back part cutting, so I'm going to show you on the paper. So we are going to use the front pattern to make the back pattern. Now for the back pattern, the fabric width should be 3 inch more than your front pattern. Okay, so you can see I have taken it 3 inch more. I'm just going to extend the crotch line on my back pattern. I have kept my front pattern on the back pattern for tracing, and I'm just going to mark a point at 2.5 inch on the crotch line. I'll mark a point at 1 inch from the front waist line. I'll mark similar points moving downwards. And the same thing I will also do below the crotch line, like this. Then I will join all these points. Near the crotch line, I will join them using a curve, and I will join other points using a straight line. Once you have joined all the points, go ahead and cut the pieces. And now this is the back pattern, which is also ready.